Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. Metadata here. I'm a software engineer. I want to learn how to hack, so I'm going to record myself doing it live. Hopefully you learn too. That's the basic premise. Today, we got Metasploit. In my last video, we learned Nmap together, and we dove a little bit into that tool. Well, the next super big, popular hacking tool is Metasploit, and so we're going to take a look at how to use it, how to learn all the different options that it has, because it's a huge framework. I don't know too much about it, so this will be mostly very much mostly new to me, and we're gonna jump right into it. Hopefully you got your cup of coffee here, because you're probably gonna need it for something like this, and you're going to need something like Kali Linux where you can run Metasploit. So just quickly want to show you my setup. I downloaded from the Kali website. You can just Google Kali Linux. I downloaded 2020.2a. If you wanted to follow along with the specific version that I'm using, just downloaded one of their VMs. It's about 4 gigs, so it takes a little bit to download. But once you are ready to go, then we can get started. So let me quick switch the screens. I'm going to throw this on this side. And here we are. We got Kali Linux terminal. Okay. Sorry for the little blip there. You may notice the screen looks a little different. I had to mess around with my VPN. The server that I was previously connecting to was not working, so I had to switch servers. But what you will need to do, in addition to having a TryHackMe account, you will need to have somewhere to run the OpenVPN connection and download that file from their access page. And then what you want to do is the room that you're in this case Metasploit, you will want to see your IP here. Now this is not sensitive because I'm running on a VM, so I'll get a new IP the second I spin up this VM again. But I might just hide it just in case, just to be safe. But you want to see this green area at the top. You're not going to see the IP specifically, but you want to see the green area for you, and then you are good to go. So let's jump right into this room, shall we? All right, so Metasploit. It's an open source pen testing framework, which basically just has a bunch of exploiting tools inside of it, built around a command line that helps you execute them. So if you have a Kali Linux VM, then you already have Metasploit baked in. However, you can go out and get Metasploit yourself on your distribution of Linux. So there's other security distributions, so you can go ahead and get that. But essentially, that's going to be the prereq for if you want to follow along. That's what you're going to need. So we're going to jump in. I should have it, I'm assuming. All right, so let's go ahead and initialize. So this is going to be the first times we're using Metasploit. So the first things first, we need to initialize the database. That's how it's going to track all the things that it has to offer. So we're going to do msfdb init. And sudo pretty much everything that we're running. If you're using the attack box, okay, we're not using the attack box. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and start a database. I believe it's a Postgres database in the back end. And hopefully we won't run into errors, but if I run into errors, I'll fix them live. I won't jump over them, and then hopefully if you have the same error, you can hopefully do the same thing. So there are some advanced options for starting the console, so we're going to hopefully learn some tricks that only the pros know. I mean, it's available to everybody. So we'll run msf console-h, and this will show us all the options. There we go. So we'll complete that step, and whoops, I need to click that. Okay, so there is an option without showing the banner or any of the startup information. There's an option that we have to add to MSF console to start it without showing. So that's going to be dash Q dash quiet for quiet. There we go. So once the database initialized, go ahead and start Metasploit via the command. Now we won't do that in the future. We won't do -q now, but we'll do that in the future. So we'll go ahead and clear so we have a nice clear console, and then we'll run MSF console by itself. So that'll start up Metasploit. And I think we get like a banner. I think I've run this like once years ago, so that's the only reason why I'm familiar with this. Yeah, with this with this banner. So the Metasploit version I'm using is 6.1.7-dev. So you might have a similar version. Hopefully you can follow along, and hopefully I have a similar version to the version of the people that wrote this this tutorial. So okay, we completed that. After Metasploit is started, let's go ahead and check that we've connected to the database. Do this now with the DB status. So now that we've started the MSF console, we now have this MSF6 little input spot. So it's different than the standard bash terminal. So we're inside of the framework, and now every command that we type is going to be processed by Metasploit itself. So DB status, and then boom, we get connected to the database, and yep, just as I suspected, it's a Postgres database. So we've done that, and then what type of database? Yep, so I already said Postgres. Let's go. Okay, so initializing done. Now we're gonna do a little bit of the commands. So if you're not quite sure what we're doing here, this is going to help a little bit understand the commands. And then I believe after this, I peeked at the sections. We're going to learn about the different modules, because Metasploit can be used for tons of different exploits. And then we are actually going to test on an actual box that they're going to set up for us, an actual computer, and we will essentially exploit that box, and we'll show you kind of just a little bit of a taste of what a Metasploit can do. I'm by no means I'm an expert of this. This is going to be learning for me for the first time. I've heard about it. I know what it can do. I just don't know really how to use it. So we're going to explore the help menu. And so, okay, so we get this ginormous menu that is lagging just to scroll through. I'm gonna go all the way to the top though, so we can start from the beginning. Okay, so we have these core commands, and then I believe once you get into modules, then you have specific module commands. There's a lot to take in. I'm only gonna be skimming over this and really just answering the question. So to do the help menu, I guess you can do a short one character alias. I'm guessing it's H. No, it's not. I just really guessed. Oh, question mark. There it is, right at the top, in front of my face. All right. Gotta take a sip of the coffee so I can do better this. Okay, finding various modules we have at our disposal within Metasploit is one of the most common commands we will leverage. So you're not expected to remember all the modules, all the exploits that exist on these machines. That might be something that you're worried about, and that's great. That Metasploit allows us to search for things. So I'm guessing there is a search or find or something. So what is the base command we use for searching? Finding various modules. Oh, literally search right in front of my face. I had to look at the section right below. So yeah, searching for modules. Once we found the module we want to leverage, what command we use to select it? Looks like use is my guess. Interact with the module. And then how about if we want to view information about either specific module, just the active one we've selected, info. Okay, so just some basic commands just to get us to navigate around the framework. That's pretty lightweight so far. Metasploit is a built-in netcat-like function where we can make a quick connection with the host simply to verify that we can talk to it. What command is this? I'm going to guess... If it's not here, communicate with the host, connect. Sweet. Okay, entirely one of the commands purely utilized for fun. What command displays the MOTD ASCII art we see when we start MSF console without the Q flag. What command displays it? Oh, banner. Okay. We'll revisit these next two commands shortly. However, the two of the most used commands within Metasploit. First, what command do we use to change the value of a variable? Set. I think I saw that somewhere. Set a context specific variable. These are global variables. What command changes the value of a variable globally? So I think it's just going to be set G. That's just the option right below it. Now we've learned how to change the value of variables. How do we view them? Let's see. Get, and then changing the value of a variable to null or no value. Unset. There we go. So there's unset right there. Okay, so when you're performing a penetration test, it's quite common to record your screen either for further review or for providing evidence of any actions taken. This is because in this channel, we promote ethical hacking. So by no means should you be using any of these tools for criminal use or for unauthorized access to a machine. This should only be for ethical purposes. Now, what this is referring to is if you are, a lot of time there is bounty hunting or bug bounty hunting that is put on by companies. So there's plenty of websites and resources out there where you can actually get paid to find bugs in companies' networks. And so a lot of times you'll either want to record your screen or you'll have plenty of evidence or findings that you want to give to a company. You could possibly get paid. Maybe you're just doing it for just the benefit of that company and you're not getting anything out of it. But essentially, this is how the collection of output. So one of these commands that can be useful is going to find specifically dump session listenings. It's a 5-character word. When performing, this is often coupled with a collection of console output. What command can we use to set our console output to save to a file? Okay, so we just need to save this to a file. That's actually not too bad. Just got to figure out what file this is or what command that is. Probably if I scroll down, I'll probably find it. Okay, it's probably right in front of me. Spool. Yeah, so honestly, that word just wasn't sticking out to me. Spool, write console output into a file as well as the screen. So if you're a Linux user, you know T. That's basically like the T command. So in addition to getting outputted in right in front of you to the terminal, it'll also go to a file. So you can have all of your evidence for when you basically exploit a vulnerability ethically. Okay, you might not always want to leave the console running, and you want those previously set values to also load. We can store all of the settings active data stores from Metasploit to a settings file. This will save within your directory and can be undone easily simply by removing the created settings file. So I believe we're just looking for save. Nice and easy. Okay. We learned a little bit about the commands. A little boring, not gonna lie. I really want to just like start using it, but I do understand that there's a lot going into it, so this is necessary. So we need to quickly learn about the modules, and then we'll get into actually testing. This little icon, see, it involves a deployable machine. So hang in there, stick with me. It'll be worth it. So Metasploit can. All right, here's the good stuff. Here's the good stuff. All right, so I need to start this machine. Yes, I know how to access it. I know. it started. Many a few units to come up. Okay, and I will have an IP here in a second. And this one for sure is not sensitive because it is, it's the IP of this machine specifically in TryHackMe's environment. By the time you're watching this, that machine will be down. But these are just little vulnerable machines that they put out there for us, for you to practice on. So we're going to take a look at what we can use to exploit this victim machine that it's going to start up for us. We haven't touched Nmap in this room, but we did go over it last video. So if you haven't checked that out, check out the link that'll display here in a second. But Metasploit does support different types of port scans with the auxiliary module, so we're going to test that out. But for example, comes with a built-in way to run Nmap and feed its results directly into our database. So this is really cool. You can run Nmap and you can do your own scans, but it's more beneficial to run it in Metasploit so that it'll actually log the results for us, and we'll be able to basically say, hey, we want to take that port that we just scanned, we found that was open, we want to run an exploit on that port. And then Metasploit helps you do that without having to manually keep track of everything. So we're going to do an Nmap, and does anyone remember what kind of scan that is? SV? Leave it in the comments. All right, we're going to do a scan here. All right, it just finished. And so let's take a look at what we got. Took about 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. So we completed that. And then they want to know, what service does Nmap identify running on port 135? So if you see, these are all of the open ports. And we have Windows RPC port running on 135. So we can already see just from this Nmap here that we have a Windows box that it's spun up for us. Dark PC, OS, Windows, all of that. So MSRPC is the port that's open. So let's go ahead and see what information we collect in the database. Try typing the command host. So this is going to be important because we can check that hosts. Look at that. This is so sick. So when you run a db nmap command and you pass in a specific IP, it's going to keep track of the host for you. And there could be more. There could be one or more. You might not always be tracking a host. You might be tracking a network down to be able to find an exploit. So this is pretty dang awesome. We don't have too much information from that command based off of just the Nmap, but we'll see what more we can learn. So we did that. And then how about something else? Try the command services. So it's also going to be tracking services that are running, and that'll be for all the ports you have in your hosts. So already, boom, it's just keeping track of this information for us. This is the beauty of Metasploit, is it's not only has this whole library of exploits and payloads that you can use, it's also managing your hosts for you. And these things, when you use the spool command, is also able to log these to files. So, I mean, you have the entire tool set right here at your fingertips. All right, so how about something else? We did the services. One last thing, try the command vulns. So at this point, it won't show any at the current moment. However, it's worth noting that Metasploit will keep track of discovered vulnerabilities. So you see here, this is the table it would print out. If there was data, there would be the host. So on top of that, they're able to determine whether or not, based off the data they have, whether or not there's any vulnerabilities for you to exploit. So you may not even be able to determine just from the data you're looking at that there's a vulnerability. We did that quickly and powerfully. That's honestly, I would say, a good description of that. All right, now that we've scanned our victim system, let's try connecting to it with the Metasploit payload. Here's where the fun comes in. We'll have to search for the target payload first. So you can simply type use followed by a unique string found within only the target exploit. So for example, we can try this out. Use icecast. So you can see that it's highlighting our search string here. the full path for our exploit that now appears on the MSF console prompt, and then it will include the exploit section at the start. So we have exploit, so that's like the module, right? Windows, HTTP icecast header. So that's the full name of the module, and I believe that's what we need to type in. So icecast header overwrite. It's got a great ranking, so you have rankings. And so because there was only one, I believe, I'm just kind of guessing that when we put use in this string, you see how it says using exploit. So there we go. We have it was able to figure out for us. It's not quite the exploit we want, though. That was just an example. So we're actually going to search for multi-handler. All right, so it's a generic payload handler. So we're going to run the command use number next to, so that they're referring to this right here. So use 5 from the search, and then exploit multi-handler. Okay, so we have now selected. It's a exploit multi-handler for a generic payload TCP reverse shell. So it's we're using now that configured payload. And then now 4 or 5. Yeah. We can use a search result without typing out the full name path of module. We can just reference this number. So it makes it a little bit easier to use. And so we ran that. And then what's the name of the column on the far left side of the console that shows up next to name? Whoops. I meant to type here. Now type the command use number from previous question. This is the short way to use modules returned by search results. Use 5. So we're getting the same result. Now let's set the payload using this command. So at first it's just a generic shell, reverse shell. That's what you're going to want. The reverse shell is how it's going to allow you to run commands on that machine. Reverse meaning like we're typing in the commands here, but it's reverse. It's actually executing them on the remote host. But we want to set payload. I don't know why it's all caps, and then we want to do is Windows interpreter and then reverse TCP. So this is a specific payload for our so we're using the exploit multi-handler exploit with the Windows reverse TCP payload. Then now it's saying let's run this command set lhost equal to the my IP on track, like my IP. Okay, so I'm going to go back and grab that. Okay. So the left host meaning this is the left-hand side. So I am the left-hand side. You might have to check your IP. Yeah, I already know how to do that. So, okay, I did that. Now let's go ahead and return to our previous exploit. Run the command use icecast is selected again. Why are we going back? I'm not sure. Okay, so one last step before you can run an exploit, run the command. So now we need to set the right-hand side. So even though there's that host command that shows all the hosts, you still have to say for a particular exploit which one that we want. So in this case, this is going to be the IP of the box that TryHackMe set up for us to exploit, that we did that nmap scan on. So we're going to set the R host side. And Okay, now we've done that. Just to kind of recap, we were sort of learning the commands while getting set up for an exploit. So when we were doing search and use, we're not actually using those. I think they were just wanting to show us what happens when there's multiple results versus when we do use icecast, there's only one. So it's specifically setting setting it for us because there's only one that matches that string. So once we are good to go, we're using the icecast exploit. We're using a Windows reverse TCP shell for the payload. Once you set those variables correctly, run the exploit now via either the command exploit or the command run-j. I like the word exploit. It just feels fun. Oh, or the command to run it as a job. So that's okay. So exploit will get you right into the session that you were wanting. But if you do run-j, it'll create as a job behind the scenes. So they didn't explain that quite well. See if it works. All right, this one's working. So I had to respin up a box and I had to basically run all the commands in order. And I don't know if it will work again. It seems to be pretty spotty, but I got it to work once. And sometimes that might just be how it is. It might be a spotty setup. So it's sending the payload. It's going to be executing it. Once it's finished executing, then we'll have a reverse shell available to us. Once it's set up, all we have to do is just access it. And Metasploit allows us to do that pretty easily. Boom. Look at that. We have our session. Okay. So it was a little confusing. We were getting some output after our prompt here, so I wasn't sure if it was running or not. But you can see that the job completed, so there's no more active jobs. But if I run sessions, I'm able to actually see that I have a session available. So here's the information, here's the connection. So you see this is the connection that is truly pointing back to this machine. So you can see here, that's how the reverse shell works. So it's, even though it's running on this IP, it's reversed back to that host, that vulnerable host. So now that we have that session available to us, it has an ID, so we can do sessions-i, and then boom, and we now have a session. So this is Windows. So if I do dir, boom, I've got now. This is where I am. This is where the session is inside of this directory on that machine, and I'm running this from my Kali Linux VM. So we now have a session. And next section is now what? Now what did I not click on down here? Yeah, okay. Cool. So we're in. Now what? Now we've got a shell. Now there's post-exploit modules that we can now execute within this session. And we can answer most of this with the help menu. So our initial shell isn't very stable, so let's go ahead and attempt to move it to a different process. Let's list the processes using the ps command. What's the name of the pools? First, let's list the process using the ps command. Oh, literally in front of my face. You guys, if you're listening, watching, I apologize. All right, so we have literally a service called spool sv. Let's get ahead and move into the spool process. So that was selected because it's a stable service. You want to select services that are stable. Like I said, if they crash, it's not a huge deal. What command do we use to transfer ourselves into the processes? Won't work at the current time as we don't have sufficient privileges, but we can still try. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really know. Like birds, we've got to migrate. Is it literally migrate? Okay, it's literally migrate. Well, that migration didn't work. So what, do we just migrate into, I don't know how this works, to be honest. This is new to me. Not a PID. If I think I had to do a PID, then I had to do 1268. Okay, so that's how it works. You just do the migrate command and then the PID or the PID of the spool service. And so we got boom, insufficient privileges, cannot migrate into this process. So it didn't work. Let's find out some more information so we can try to elevate. So from what I know, hackers are trying to exploit into the machine, so get access and then move up, try to elevate. Because as soon as you have root, admin, God mode, you can do whatever you need to do, whatever you want, which obviously is dangerous. So you don't want hackers truly having that, but that's what their goal is. So what command can we run to find out more? One quick extra question. What command can we run on our interpreter session to spawn a normal system shell? That would be shell. We can prove that by getting a shell. Look at that. We are now in the shell. Okay, so this is just to give you a little bit of an intro into the auto root script. It might change, it looks like, because of this deprecation warning. But you can, of course, look into that more yourself. But that's the last section makes you a little bit more aware of that. And okay, that's pretty much wraps up Metasploit. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned from some of the mistakes that I made when I was in here, or some of the instabilities maybe about TryHackMe's environment or their network and the virtual machines. But overall, I hope you gained some knowledge, some experience, just saw how powerful a framework like Metasploit is. And that's pretty much it. Go ahead, like the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment for anything you'd like to see in the future. I'm going to continue going through these TryHackMe rooms, and just keep on learning. If you don't understand everything at first, it's okay. Keep pushing through. I'm not understanding everything I'm seeing, but I'm going to keep pushing through, and I know from experience that things will start to click later on, and you just kind of have to dive in, drink from fire hoses, get your toes wet, all those fun analogies about learning, and you'll be grateful for that one day when it starts to all click together. So hope you all have a great day. Hope you can catch me in the next video, and that's pretty much it. See ya.